Good morning and welcome to Siren's Curse Media Day. So it is still pretty early in the morning, but the ride's been up for almost an hour, giving rides to people here at the media event. My time slot is in about another hour from now, so I'm not going to spoil it for myself. We're going to wait until then, but we're here to check out America's tallest, fastest, and first Vekoma tilt coaster opening up here at Cedar Point. Let's check it out. This wasn't necessarily a concern of mine, but at the end of last season and the beginning of this season, while you can still walk around the park and see Siren's Curse going up, it's nestled between quite a few very tall attractions. You have Valraven kind of earlier on the midway. It's across from both Rougarou and Top Thrill 2's Spike, which is obviously tied for the tallest thing here. The Spike, that is, not Top Thrill is the tallest thing here. And even Millennium Force isn't far away. So at any other park, this wouldn't just be like experientially a big standout. This would also be just size-wise one of the most standout attractions possible. Here at Cedar Point, with such a stacked lineup, I was concerned this was gonna kind of get lost in this area. It doesn't. Not only does Siren's Curse not get lost size-wise, it also just has an extremely distinct look. Both the tilt track tower combined with what seems like a good amount of supports, maybe it's just because it's a really compact layout, it very much has like this sort of industrial feeling with these gray supports, and near the ground they've made it look like there's moss growing or rust. I'm excited to check out the other theming or story elements present here with Siren's Curse. We also have Alpha and Omega doing the video here. We are here at Cedar Point. This is my first ride here on Siren's Curse, the new for 2025 tilt coaster. So not only is this the tallest and fastest tilt coaster in the United States, it's actually the first. So very quick lift hill. We are already at the top. First time seeing this tilt structure from up above, and what a good position you have kind of looking at the whole backside of the park. This is kind of a unique angle, similar to like Rougarou's, but you're facing the other way. But the train's kind of creeping forward. You can't even see anything over the edge. Oh, so I'm up in the front right now as we're gonna tilt down, and it's gonna lock in at that 90-degree position. Oh my goodness. Oh, I mean, you are just up against the harness right now. If all of my body weight, but facing straight down 90 degrees. Oh! Great! Oh! Airtime on that first hill into the roll. Oh, going around that S-bend. Good amount of airtime to end here. Into the tunnel. A lot of fog. Another S-bend. It's almost like a non-inverting loop there. More airtime. Oh my. One more roll. Wake turn. This is crazy. More airtime. But wait, there's more. And one into the brakes. I knew that this was going to be an airtime filled experience. I did not realize it was going to be that relentlessly filled with airtime. And those two rolls, unbelievably fast. That reminds me of something like Max Force, Velocicoaster, how those have very high speed rolls. But that's it. That is Siren's Curse here at Cedar Point. Make sure to come check it out. So I have now done 2 rides, my first 2 rides on Siren's Curse. And boy howdy, do I have some thoughts. To me, this is really gonna wind up fighting for that top 3 spot here at Cedar Point between Steel Vengeance, Maverick, Top Thrill 2, and this, genuinely a park with 4 elite roller coasters at this point. First thing I noticed when I actually got on the ride, those Vekoma trains, remarkably comfortable. The vest itself is a lot less restrictive than it is on B&Ms, and the seat itself is not hard or uncomfortable at all. Onboard audio, that's a thing as well. I mean, I've done rides with onboard audio before, but that just amplifies the experience. Heavy metal. I'm not that much of like a metal head, but it reminds me of Doom, the newer Doom games, Mick Gordon. It definitely adds a lot of energy to the experience. And when you've ridden a few rides with onboard audio, it's kind of weird to go back. It seems awfully plain. Something else is this queue. I'm actually very happy with it. There's some water behind me. It's actually dyed red to kind of look like oil. And also there is a switchback section of the queue over there. But for the most part, I would imagine for most normal lines, it will just follow this meandering path, which is nice. That's a nicer experience. There's the fog and lights in the tunnel, the onboard audio and the onboard lighting. There's a lot going on to thematically tie this coaster together. Now the meat and potatoes of this coaster, I knew that this was airtime focused. They marketed it as such, 13 moments of airtime. But it doesn't really hit you just how many and how intense the airtime is here. It's constant and it's creative too. You're not just getting beaten over the head with bunny hills or the same sort of elements. You have something that resembles more of a non-inverted loop than anything. Gosh, even the first element after the drop is like a non-inverting dive loop so that you can get airtime on the way in. This is an airtime lover's dream. Now the tilt, quite a different experience whether you're in the front or the back. As you would probably imagine, the front provides this kind of weird feeling because the track ends right in front of you and you can't see anything as it tips down. But on the downside, it's the lowest point of the train for that drop. So the back is the opposite. Something cool about the back, if you kind of peek behind you, you'll see the claw clamp down to the back of the train. It's one of the redundant safety measures they have for that tilt track, but from the back of the train, you go up so high, and in my opinion, the drop is a lot better in the back. You get a lot of speed going by the time you get into that kind of curved pullout, whereas in the front, you're still speeding up as you hit that. Really good, and overall, this is just gonna be a personal preference thing. Even though you don't get airtime getting pulled over a drop like you do on Valraven even, I prefer the tilt aspect to the dive hold. Because even if you're in the very front car of a dive, you're still not vertical. You're not being held vertical. Other than Falcon's Fury at Busch Gardens, Tampa, there's no other ride I've done that holds you straight down for a prolonged period of time. Super cool. Honestly, something I was also curious about was how this would fit into Cedar Point's lineup. I've already pointed similarities between this and Maverick being small and intense, to Steel Vengeance, an airtime machine, even Valraven, something that holds you over the edge. But I do feel like there are characteristics that make this very unique. Look at Maverick, that has a launch, and although there's a couple great airtime moments on Maverick, that ride focuses just as heavily on those quick, low to the ground maneuvers. Look at Steel Vengeance, that's an airtime machine, but a lot of that is still intense, but drawn out airtime, even the Outer Banks, whereas the airtime moments you get here are very intense and very quick. It's like sharp ejector constantly. Whereas with some of those other rides, you might get a different mix of airtime and inversions and twists and turns. Ew. Oh, I just stepped in really hot gum. The ride also has free double-sided lockers. Not these. These are new. They're upcharged and they're full-size lockers. So if you have a backpack, this is part of Cedar Point's multi-use locker setup. So if you rent one for all day, you'll be able to transfer your stuff, including this new location here. But the ride itself does have double-sided lockers. Double-sided lockers are a great solution to making sure everyone's items are secured and it's not too much of a hassle for the guests. Especially important on a ride like this where the tilt section pretty much goes over the pathway. So super important that riders have their loose items secure. Double-sided lockers, that's a win. I am here, I'm joined by Dave Evans. He's the construction lead at Six Flags, and he was overseeing and in charge of the installation and construction of Siren's Curse here. So Dave, thank you so much for joining me today. So Siren's Curse was announced a bit later than we normally get with rides here at Cedar Point. But with that different timeline, what challenges did that kind of present? What was unique about this project?
We just took a tighter timeline and had to work multiple hours, 6-7 days a week, and condense our construction period and give ourselves plenty of time to erect and still test and commission on a normal schedule. Just a lot of the front end work underground was more compressed.
Something I'm curious about, and I'm sure is the thing that sticks out to most people as they're coming up to the ride, is this huge
Erie Freight is what we're in. It's part of our Erie Freight shipping tower.
Okay, part of the Erie Freight shipping tower. What challenges go into not just creating such a big element of the ride, but also something that houses a very important part of the ride, that tilt track and all the safety systems that go into that?
It was its own project, right? So we basically had two projects in one. The tower itself with all the structure and foundations and all the mechanicals and electrical that are in that tower, that was a whole project within itself. So a lot of work started early on that because we had a lot of work to do to put it all together. The rest of the track and station area was all secondary to the main tilt. But yeah, it's a massive challenge to get that tilt element up there and then all the mechanicals up there and running.
Something else, the pipe dream of so many coaster enthusiasts, I feel like, here at Cedar Point is, wouldn't it be so cool if we had like a roller coaster go out above Lake Erie? And obviously that's not feasible for so many reasons, but something that this ride does that I assumed wasn't possible or would at least be a massive challenge is it goes underground. Cedar Point being on a peninsula with what I would assume is a water table that doesn't give you a whole lot of room to work with, did that present any unique challenges?
That was a small mini project in itself. I mean, we had about 3.5 months worth of time building that tunnel because yes, our water table is 5 foot below surface. So on a tunnel that's 20 some feet deep, there was a lot of work that had to go in to dam that thing out and pump water constantly out of that system so that we could build our concrete walls through there.
Last thing, what was your favorite part about both the construction process and now just being able to experience the ride?
The ability that we had as a team to build this thing in a short period of time and to see it all come to fruition and it matches what we had on paper originally. I think that's a big element. It's just to see everybody's expression and how happy they are with the ride. And me personally, I love the ride. It's a great, smooth ride. I'm really impressed at how it really came together. So it's mostly just a big team effort here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dave.
Yeah.
Just like that, that's going to do it for my day here at Cedar Point's Siren's Curse Media Day. First and foremost, thank you so much, Cedar Point, Six Flags, for having me out. This is only my second media day, and both of them have been just spectacular experiences. I'm seeing familiar faces, meeting new people, and of course, checking out North America's newest and tallest, fastest, longest tilt coaster here with Siren's Curse. Cedar Point has a huge win on their hands. It's almost funny how you could take one of half a dozen coasters from Cedar Point, drop them at another park, and any of them would be that park's standout ride. But here, it's just another day. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking it. If you want to see more roller coaster content like this coming real soon, consider subscribing. My name's John. You've been watching Midcourse Discourse, and I'll see you next time.